Let's fight. Wherever you're joining us from tonight, let's fight, folks. Good to have you here with us. So much to discuss that Ali Maduro meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's all that anyone's talking about, folks. How did it go down? What happened? Who came out the stronger man? We got a lot to discuss, and it's good to see each and every one of you on the live tonight, good folks. Good to see you all on the live. Dolly Anderson and all the tubers, we're going to ring that bell for you guys once more. Share the live. Smash that emoji button, and we want you guys to partner with us as well, good folks. Good to have each and every one of you with us. Rock and come in from wherever you're joining us from. Again, very privileged that each and every one of you, you're here with us, guys. We are nothing short of tremendously privileged. Share the live, guys, and smash that emoji button as well. As we said, we are humbled to have each and every one of you here with us, whichever page, whatever social media platform you're joining us from. We're privileged. Maxine Still, and I see Sean of Fortune is here. Ingrid King is here as well. Whether you're joining us on the Alliance for Change page, the APNU AFC page, the Christopher Jones page, whether you're joining us on the Kemraj Ramjatan page, whichever page you're joining us from, credible sources. Good to have each and every one of you on the live tonight. Mario, Bella, Shauna, Diane, and all the other wonderful folks who are joining us this evening. Just simply privileged to have each and every one of you here with us, folks. We trust that you guys have had a great day. Wherever you reside, folks, you went to work, you went to school, you stayed at home. We hope that you guys have had a good day and you had a productive day overall. Good to have so many of you already on the live with us. Debbie Hohenkirk, share that live, folks. Smash that emoji button, folks. It's all anyone's talking about, the Ali Maduro meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the SVG. Kello Crandon and Anche De Silva. Good to have you, Diane Fordyce. Wherever you're joining us from, we are privileged to have you folks here with us, guys. We are so privileged to have each and every one of you here with us. That's your fight card tonight, this Ali Maduro meeting. Good folks, where are you guys? Good to see you, Siobhan and Carol, Renella Garnett. Andrew Cuthbert is here as well. Good to have you, Diane, Donna Miller. Great to see you as well. How did you guys think the meeting went? If you guys caught any portion of it, we were holding for a press conference out of Irfaan Ali and Mr. Maduro. We were holding for that press conference. As soon as we have it, folks, if we can get it to you, we're going to get it to you. We were holding for that press conference. Denny Champagne Collision and Edward Brooms, Edith Miggins, Patricia Kissoon. Good to have all of you on the live. Tony Fraser, good to have you on the live as well. It's what everybody's talking about, that Ali Maduro meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. At least it's what anybody in Guyana is talking about. Why don't you know how that meeting went, folks? And we have tried to get as much information for you folks, valid and credible information. Share that live, good folks. Yannick Etwa, Joan Robertson, Glycis Byrne. Good to have you, Lyndon Gill, and all the other folks joining us tonight. Folks, let's show you how Irfaan Ali, let's show you how Mr. Maduro arrived in St. Kitts and the Grenadines. And let's take that, folks, as the opener tonight. Look at some of the action on the ground in St. Kitts, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, folks, as President Irfaan Ali arrived and as President Nicolas Maduro, our neighbors, folks, Western neighbors, he arrived. Take a look.
It's coming for you. It's coming for you. Don't move up.
Stay there. Get up. Stay there. Stay there, please. Vete. Wow.
Pero déjalo trabajar, ¿cómo lo
Wow. Can't wait on happy for this picture tomorrow. Wow. See hard work. I know, it's not great. Just look at sample. Wow. All right. Go ahead.
Just wait. We'll get you where you need to go.
Yes, Bob.
Well, when? Just a car. It's actually coming to the aircraft. Anything other than the board of controversy. And we did a social,
You know what?
yeah.
All right. Welcome back, folks. Welcome back. And we're just giving you guys a sense of how things went down as both President Irfaan and President Nicolas Maduro arrived in St. Vincent and the Grenadines this morning, folks. Yep, those were the scenes from the airport there in St. Vincent and Grenadines as the two leaders arrived. Yep. I was a little distracted by the comments some of you making making out there. I'm a little distracted by some of the comments, good folks. But again, welcome to our broadcast. And let's take you guys through the paces. And as the day started, Ralph Gonzalez. I think this whole confab was more about Ralph than it was about Irfaan. That was even about Maduro. I feel like this was like a re-election campaign for Ralph. 21 years now, Ralph is prime minister, you know. 21 years. And folks on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, they said Ralph won another 21. So there he was this morning, urging both Irfaan Ali and Nicolas Maduro to apply maturity, wisdom, and patience and calm to their discourse. I feel like this was more about Ralph, folks. I feel like it was more about Ralph. Y'all know the fella, Notley and Deborah Clark, Lace and Savage Tish. It seems that way, like it was more about Ralph than about anybody else. So there he was, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, urging both parties to apply wisdom, maturity, patience, and calm to their deliberations. So Irfaan got a little characteristic of Irfaan. And Nicolas Maduro, folks seem to be on a tangent all of his own. Some of the things we're going to be examining tonight, folks. Some of the things we're going to be examining. But the leader of the opposition, as Irfaan Ali was heading to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, spoke to this whole issue of what we expected to be the outcomes. The leader of the opposition said, we hope for the best outcomes in all of this. Because this thing affects all of us, you know, not some. This issue here, the Guyana and Venezuela border controversy, affects all of us. When them boys saber rattling in Imbatero and the Arroquita, when them boys saber rattling, folks, in Bang, all of us feel the reverberations as far as the national capital city. And the point that the leader of the opposition, Aubrey C. Norton, the leader of the People's National Congress Reform, referred to in his press conference earlier today. Take a listen to some of what the leader of the opposition said.
Today, the CARICOM CELAC brokered meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines between Presidents Irfaan Ali and Nicolas Maduro is expected to commence, sharing the unease felt by many Guyanese over the outcome of these talks. If mishandled, these talks could seriously jeopardize the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country. We can only hope that the meeting will indeed deliver on its goals of reaffirming the principles of peaceful settlement of disputes, respect for international law, and the avoidance of the use and threats of force. The Caribbean must indeed remain a zone of peace. The opposition is already on record as stating that the territorial controversy between Guyana and Venezuela must not be on the agenda in any form or fashion. We did not oppose this meeting when presented to us by Irfaan Ali as a fait accompli. Had we been in government, however, we would have responded to such initiative for dialogue more effectively to further protect and promote Guyana's national interests. As such, we would have, one, as a government, we would have insisted on a clear and settled agenda up front. To date, despite our calls for such an agenda days ago, none has been presented to the Guyanese people by the current PPP government. Two, as I also stated in the National Assembly on Monday, we as a government would have insisted that emissaries from all concerned parties first meet to finalize modalities for such a summit meeting. Three, we would have demanded that Venezuela take measures to first de-escalate the situation prior to a meeting, given its recent violations and acts of aggression. Four, we would have consulted with the opposition and would have kept it informed of all developments from the inception. Five, we would have engaged the available expertise in the country, regardless of political affiliation. We are, however, where we are. Today's meeting must not produce a slippery slope that derails Guyana's national interests and confers on Venezuela any advantage whatsoever. Today's meeting must also not entertain any discussion on matters which technically are outside the ICJ process, but which nevertheless have implications for territorial integrity. In particular, Venezuela's desire for access to a sea lane or any maritime concession. Today's meeting must avoid any outcome that entraps Guyana into a process of continued and meaningless meetings that eventually suck in the territorial question. We have already stated that the opposition will not support any agreement that impinges on the territorial controversy. For the sake of our country, let us hope for the best outcomes from the meeting for Guyana. We expect President Irfaan to report promptly, fully, and accurately to the nation on his return. I thank you. Today, the CARICOM CELAC broken meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines between Presidents.
That's what we want, folks, the best outcomes for the people of Guyana. We want a win-win for the people of Guyana, because when the people of Guyana win, of course, ipso facto, all of us win. All of us, Siobhan and Waveney, all of us win. And that's the kind of win we want. All of us must win in this process, not just some. But it was an interesting day. It was an interesting day. You guys know we were supposed to have a sitting of the National Assembly, but that didn't happen because all eyes were focused on what's happening there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And lots of the government official ministers and others went up. We saw a lot of folks there. And some who weren't heading to St. Vincent and the Grenadines were heading other places. And so there's a postponement of the sitting of the National Assembly today. Yeah. And even though that didn't happen, Andrew Griffith, Veronica, and Oren, Sardia, and Jacqueline, we were hopeful. Mr. Norton is hopeful. We're all hopeful for the best outcomes. Kim Batson, Waveney Doris, from these deliberations, from these talks in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we've been stressing for a long time that these meetings have no clear agenda. Well, not according to the Vice President, Mr. Barjaglio, who came out today in his press conference after looking at the PNCR's press conference and said, no. There was an agenda. Well, folks, Melissa Monroe, Leon Logan, agenda, and that was news to the rest of us. Yep, that's what the Vice President said. There was an agenda. There was an agenda proffered by CARICOM. Did you know that? But we are on the forefront watching out for you folks. Watching out for you folks. Watching. Should have been in SVG, but we were here, folks, watching out for your interest. The Vice President said there was an agenda. You heard one? Rastaman, Daniel King, Mayborn King, the whole King clan with us tonight. Carol Monroe, Angela Jordan. Did you hear that agenda? Ancha De Silva, Tulsi Narayan, Hattie Joseph, Bob Ali, Brenda, Donna. Did you hear the agenda? He said there was an agenda. Folks watching us from the Bronx, you heard one, Esther Blue, Savage, Wilma. Yeah, the Vice President said there was an agenda, folks, in his press conference today. Yeah, who knew? He said CARICOM. He took exception to the fact that Mr. Norton said there was no agenda. He said CARICOM set an agenda. Yet the government didn't proffer to restate that agenda. Even when we saw Mr. Irfaan, President Irfaan, writing Ralph Gonzalez just yesterday for clarity on the agenda, because Nicolas Maduro said he was coming to discuss Venezuela. He was coming to discuss, rather, Essequibo. And there was so much talk about the ICJ. You can hear a little later on from Irfaan. It looks as though that was on the agenda. Indeed. All that the Irfaan said, he stated and restated and emphasized, all well and good. But I thought we weren't going to talk about that. You know, it's just me. I thought we weren't going to talk about that. Right? So as I said, folks, in his press conference today, the Vice President said there was an agenda. It's all wrong. Bella Mona, Vashti Magnot, Beatrice Selby, Paul Sellers. There was an agenda. There was an agenda. Take a listen.
He said two things of note, though, that we should have had a settled agenda and demanded Venezuela de-escalate the situation prior to the meeting. When you go to these meetings, you have to ensure that your positions are not compromised, first of all, in whole or by creeping or by stealth. And we are fully aware of that. President Ali knows that. You know, he's been fully briefed, he knows that. So sometimes the meetings are fluid, particularly when they're mediated by third parties. So there has to be some element of fluidity. But if you want peace in the region, the de-escalation cannot be a prior condition. It has the meeting is set up to talk about de-escalation. In fact, I'm surprised that Mr. Norton is claiming that he didn't have a settled agenda, but elements of the meeting were already known or what would be discussed. And this came clearly from CARICOM itself. CARICOM made it clear that after the caucus with their heads that took place on Friday, December 8th, that they believe that there should be an engagement between the two leaders. They said the statement that was issued subsequent to that meeting, which was held on the 8th of December, stated that they firmly supported Guyana in the pursuance of the resolution of the border controversy at the ICJ. They made it clear that they wanted CARICOM to remain a zone of peace, and therefore they said that the meeting should focus on a number of things. First, the de-escalation of the conflict and for the appropriate dialogue between the leaders of Guyana and Venezuela to ensure peaceful coexistence, the application and respect for international law, and the avoidance of the use of threats of force. They set an agenda clearly. They clearly outlined the objectives of the talks. Peaceful coexistence, de-escalation of the conflict, application and respect of international law, and the avoidance of use of threats of force. 4 key elements for which we support wholeheartedly. And they also made it clear that they supported our position at the ICJ. So to claim now that you didn't know the purpose of the meeting, implied that you didn't know the purpose of the meeting. The purpose of the meeting was explicitly set out in the agenda, the statement from CARICOM leaders when they issued that.
Yeah. So that was the Vice President of Guyana, folks, during the course of his press conference today, saying that there was an agenda and that agenda, pick up my pencil, was set by CARICOM. He said there was elements of the meeting in this letter from CARICOM. I don't know, it might be me, but elements of the meeting and a clear agenda for the meeting are 2 different things. And nowhere in CARICOM's meeting, the literature that emanated from it, the text of that statement, spoke to the agenda for this meeting. So the Vice President comes out and he said there was elements of this meeting between Maduro and Irfaan Ali in what CARICOM said. He went on to say that CARICOM stated the objectives of the talks. Folks, I don't know, probably we went too far, right? So elements of a meeting is the same as the agenda. The objectives of the meeting is the same as the agenda for the meeting. So we're using words here interchangeably, but agenda is never mentioned. Agenda is never mentioned, folks. So all of you bright folks out there who thought like us, there was no agenda, well, there was no agenda. Believe it or not, set by CARICOM. You heard it there, candidly legit, Glenford Gordon, Delight One. Did you know there was agenda? Paula, you know there was an agenda? Yes. There was an agenda for this St. Vincent and the Grenadines meeting between President Irfaan of Guyana and President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela. There was, believe it or not, we still trying to catch ourselves. We are still trying to catch ourselves. And this and Candy Lead, Indigenous, and all the other folks who are joining us tonight, still trying to catch ourselves. Sabrina and Cherry, Lester and Bantu King. Bantu, I haven't seen you for a little bit. We hope that you are great. I haven't seen you for a little bit. Perhaps you're in St. Vincent and the Grenadines too. Everybody seems to be there. Everybody seems to be folks in the SVG, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So that's some of what the Vice President said today. And then, folks, boom, the meeting with Nicolas Maduro and President Irfaan. President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, properly put, and President Irfaan of Guyana. And lots of folks are making a lot of things out of this photograph, stating that Maduro didn't make eye contact. Well, folks, it's just one photograph we see. And maybe Maduro is not looking for that kind of bromance. And Irfaan, after the first half of the meeting, came out in a press conference and talked about securing a commitment to peace. We saw some folks say that this might have been premature as well. He said he secured a commitment to peace, folks. Did you hear that? Yeah, that's what he said. Commitment to peace. That's what we heard. That's what we heard as well. Look, the moment the two leaders met and shook hands, got a handshake. You know, President Irfaan is a man who loves to shake hands. Take a look, folks.
How are you? Fine.
Yep. So that's the handshake, folks. And that's how the meeting started. That is how that meeting started, folks. Irfaan said he secured a commitment to peace. Some of what we saw the office of Nicolas Maduro put out seemed to take a 180 on what Irfaan said. Seemed to take a 180. Folks, we saw some faces in that room lit up when President Irfaan and President Nicolas Maduro shook hands. I want to smile like that when I hear we get a big raise of pay. The kind of raise of pay that, was it, what country it was? Is it St. Kitts and Nevis? 8.5, 10% got over the last 72 hours. That's how Guyanese face must lit up. Take a look at one of the Caribbean leaders there as Irfaan and Nicolas Maduro shook hands. In the background there, folks, is Roosevelt Scarrett of Dominica. You know, when last you smile like this, folks? Good folks. When last you lit up like this? I know it's been a while for some people. It's been a while for some of you, especially them boys. Where that came from? Especially some of them boys. That smile on Roosevelt's carrot's face there, my God. That's to see. It's like he just got 8.5. He just got 10%. You see? He was so ecstatic. He was so ecstatic. I hope, like Mr. Norton said, with that kind of smile, we get the best outcomes from this engagement. We get the best outcomes from this meeting. Roosevelt's carrot lit up, candidly in the jeet. Kurt Heidekan, he lit up. Perhaps it's the taste of the soup. They got him smiling. He lit up. Folks, it's only we didn't go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We saw a lot of folks. Desmond Harris. We saw a lot of folks down there in the SVG, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Some of them, you got to watch them. Some of them light up like Roosevelt. I wanted to see Mia lit up like Roosevelt's carrot, the Dominican Prime Minister. I wanted to see Dr. Keith Rowley. That's how you smile when you see your friends come. That you see for a long time. We know President Irfaan, you got to make some new friends. You got a table of some backstabbers and cutthroats. I said it, folks. Who vex? I said it. I said it. I done said it already. Who vex? You all know how we say in Guyanese parlance. You know, right, sweet? A lot of Caribbean leaders, folks, were down there for this meeting in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Rav Gonzalez read out all who were joining and coming and going. What was the expectation? And I want to call some of these leaders who were down there today. The Prime Minister of Grenada, Deacon Mitchell, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip Pierre, the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Philip Davis, of course, Prime Minister of Barbados was there as well, Mia Motley. Mia come out yet to say Irfaan is my brother, and we stand on the 1899 arbitral award. We're still waiting. And the same for Dr. Keith Rowley, who was also there. We're still waiting. I want to see them smiling with us the way Roosevelt's carrot lit up when he saw that handshake. Irfaan got to watch himself. Because at one point I saw him flanked by Mia Motley and flanked by Ralph Gonzalez. Everybody know Ralph and Mia, they're looking after their own self-interest. Well, folks, we spoke to some pundits. We spoke to some technocrats about what they've seen thus far, what they've heard thus far. And some folks are given the edge diplomatically, you know, not to us. Let me put it that way. They say that Maduro can go back to Caracas and boast that he got us back to the negotiation table in the Geneva Agreement. And this is not far-fetched. Hold on, folks. It is not far-fetched. Don't run away yet. Hold on. It is not far-fetched at all. It is not far-fetched. Look who else we saw. Spotted, folks. See if you know who. Spotted. So our pundits told us that Maduro can go back to Caracas and say that they got us back to the negotiation table in the Geneva Agreement arrangement. Maduro will argue that nothing has changed and plans are steaming ahead. A second point that was made. Maduro can also argue that the ICJ process is now called into question because Guyana prefers negotiations. I'm telling you what some folks have said. And fourthly, Maduro will tell his people that he's acting on their instructions from the referendum that they voted for. Yep. And that we've gone back to negotiations. We've said yes to negotiations and no to the ICJ process. And fifthly, how this can be viewed as a win for Maduro, folks are saying that Maduro can argue that he is not a bully and answer the call for peace. He shook hands with the handshake in chief. Guyana can walk away saying it has won because it has answered the call for peace. It has won because we stuck to our guns. And we've won as a Guyana because we stared Venezuela in the face, folks, and held firm. So those are ways in which the pundits tell us both Guyana and Venezuela can pass this, and each can come back, go back to their capitals saying, we've won. We've won. That's how they can do it. That's how they can do it, folks. And everything was on display in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Wristband diplomacy. As each side sought an edge over the last few hours. Finally, folks, the pundits and the pundits are telling us as well. Listen to this aspect of it. Listen to this aspect of analyzing and rationalizing. Both men articulated their hardened positions. Guyana shall push ahead with the ICJ process, and Venezuela will continue with its orders based on the referendum, including but not limited to this organic law which, when passed, will allow Venezuela to issue licenses for mining and oil exploration and force all those in the disputed zone to move in 3 months, as it has already said. And finally, there's conclusion here. There's consensus from the pundits and the plaudits that there's no breakthrough or any compromise on either side. And that in actual fact, folks, we're back to regular programming. We're back to regular programming. As Irfaan said, he was more equipped for these talks because he wore a leather wristband with the Guyana map, signifying that Guyana will always be ours. Indivisible. Yep, established since 1899. It's just giving you a kind of a, walking you through what some of the thought processes are out there, folks. What the thought processes are out there. I did tell you that after the first engagement of President Irfaan and Maduro, after that first engagement, Irfaan spoke to the media. Yes, he did. This is some of what he said.
The third phase of the meeting,
La tercera fase de la reunión,
which has just concluded,
que acaba de concluirse,
was the first face-to-face exchange
fue el primer intercambio de cara a cara
between President Maduro,
entre el presidente Maduro,
myself,
mi persona
and our team
y nuestro equipo,
in the presence of
en la presencia
CARICOM,
de CARICOM,
CELAC,
CELAC,
Brazil,
Brasil
and the United Nations.
y las Naciones Unidas.
In that meeting,
En esa reunión,
I outlined once again
yo he esbozado nuevamente
Guyana's clear position.
la clara posición de Guyana,
That is,
lo que es
we are
que
a peace-abiding country and people.
somos un país y pueblo.
We have no other
de la
ambition
paz y no tenemos otra ambición
than to pursue the peaceful coexistence
sino de proseguir la convivencia pacífica
with Venezuela
con Venezuela
and every country in this region.
y cada país de esta región.
I made it very clear
Yo aclaré muy bien
that Guyana
que Guyana
has all the right
tiene todo el derecho
to exercise its sovereign right
de ejercer su derecho soberano
within its territorial space
dentro de su espacio territorial
to approve of
y de aprobar
and facilitate any development,
y facilitar cualquier
any
desarrollo,
investment,
cualquier inversión,
any partnership,
cualquier sociedad,
any training,
cualquier comercio,
any collaboration,
cualquier colaboración,
any cooperation,
cualquier cooperación,
the issuing of any license,
el otorgamiento de cualquier licencia o permiso
and the granting of any concession
y el otorgamiento de cualquier concesión
within our territorial space
dentro de nuestro espacio territorial
and within our sovereign space.
y dentro de nuestro espacio soberano.
I made it clear
Yo aclaré muy bien
that the controversy
que la controversia
must be resolved at the
debe ser
ICJ,
resuelta ante la CIJ
and we are unwavering and resolute
y estamos resolutos e inquebrantables
in ensuring
en asegurar
that
que
Guyana's case
el caso de Guyana
is presented,
se presente,
defended,
defienda
and that the ICJ
en la Corte Internacional de Justicia.
will issue its decision
Dicha Corte va a
on the
hacer
merits of the
saber
case,
su decisión sobre los méritos,
which of course is binding on all the
que
parties.
por supuesto es vinculante para todas las partes.
I made it clear
Yo aclaré
that the process leading to the
que el
ICJ
proceso ante la CIJ
is part of the Geneva Agreement,
forma parte del Acuerdo de Ginebra.
and that the Geneva Agreement provides
El Acuerdo de Ginebra
for the UN
dispone
Secretary General to determine
para que el secretario general de las Naciones Unidas determine
where
dónde
the controversy
la controversia
must
debe
be finally determined.
ser dirimida
And it is a UNSG
y es el
acting within the confines of the Geneva Agreement
de la ONU que inactuó dentro de los
Who determined?
acuerdo. ¿Quién determinó
that that place is the ICJ.
que ese lugar es la Corte Internacional de Justicia?
I want to say
Quisiera decir
that we
que nosotros
agreed with all the regional partners
acordamos con todos los socios
that the priority is peace,
regionales de que la prioridad es la
and
paz
that every threat
y de que cada amenaza
of force or the use of force
de fuerza y o el
must be
uso de
denounced,
fuerza debe ser denunciado
and that every party
y que cada parte
must take responsibility.
debe asumir la responsabilidad.
We made it very clear
Eso lo aclaramos muy bien.
that Guyana is not the aggressor.
Que Guyana no es el agresor.
Guyana is not seeking war,
Guyana no busca la guerra,
but Guyana reserved the right to
pero,
work with all our partners to
pero,
ensure the defense of our country.
pero Guyana tiene reserva el derecho de trabajar con todos sus socios para defender lo que es nuestro.
All our partnership is based
Toda nuestra sociedad se basa
on the defense
en la defensa
of our territorial integrity and our sovereignty.
de nuestra soberanía y la integridad territorial.
So as we move forward
De manera que en la medida
in the
que
next phase of the meeting,
progresamos a la próxima fase de la reunión
and in keeping with the invitation,
y de acuerdo con la invitación
which sought to enable a process of dialogue
que busco facilitar un proceso de diálogo
on consequential issues, not on the issue before ICJ, on consequential
sobre
issues
asuntos consecuenciales, más no el asunto ante la CIJ,
that dialogue, the shape and form of that dialogue
que la forma y la manera en
in
que se va a realizar ese
understanding
diálogo
of how we move forward
determina y hace comprender cómo vamos a avanzar.
is the next phase of these meetings.
Constituye la próxima fase de estas reuniones.
Both parties
Ambas partes
committed
se comprometieron
to ensuring
en asegurar
the region remains a zone of peace.
que la región permanezca como una zona de paz.
I made it very clear
Eso lo aclaré muy
that
bien.
within the sovereign space of Guyana,
Que dentro del espacio soberano de Guyana
we will continue
continuaremos
to do everything
a hacer todo
that promotes the development,
que promueva el desarrollo,
the advancement of our people,
el avance de nuestra gente
and all the partnerships necessary
y todas las necesarias
to
sociedades
ensure the defense and protection of what is ours,
para asegurar la defensa y protección de lo nuestro
in accordance with international law.
de acuerdo con el derecho internacional.
Thank you. The third phase of the meeting,
La tercera fase de la reunión
which has just concluded,
que acaba de concluirse
was the first face-to-face exchange
fue el primer intercambio de cara a cara
between President Maduro,
entre el presidente Maduro,
myself,
mi persona
and our team
y nuestro equipo
in the presence of
en la presencia
CARICOM,
de CARICOM,
CELAC,
CELAC,
Brazil,
Brasil
and the United Nations.
y las Naciones Unidas.
In that meeting,
En esa reunión
I outlined once again
yo he esbozado nuevamente
Guyana's clear position.
la clara posición de Guyana,
That is,
lo que es
we are
que
a peace-abiding country and people.
somos un país y pueblo
We have no other
de la
ambition
paz y no tenemos otra ambición
than to pursue the peaceful coexistence
sino de proseguir la convivencia pacífica
with Venezuela
con Venezuela
and every country in this region.
y cada país de esta región.
I made it very clear
Yo aclaré muy bien
that Guyana
que Guyana
has all the right
tiene todo el derecho
to exercise its sovereign right
de ejercer su derecho soberano
within its territorial space
dentro de su espacio territorial
to approve of
y de aprobar
and facilitate any development,
y facilitar cualquier
any
desarrollo,
investment,
cualquier inversión,
any partnership,
cualquier sociedad,
any training,
cualquier comercio,
any collaboration,
cualquier colaboración,
any cooperation,
cualquier cooperación,
the issuing of any license,
el otorgamiento de cualquier licencia o permiso
and the granting of any concession
y el otorgamiento de cualquier concesión
within our territorial space
dentro de nuestro espacio territorial
and within our sovereign space.
y dentro de nuestro espacio soberano.
I made it clear
Yo aclaré muy bien
that the controversy
que la controversia
must be resolved at the
debe ser
ICJ,
resuelta ante la CIJ
and we are unwavering and resolute
y estamos resolutos e inquebrantables
in ensuring
en asegurar
that
que
Guyana's case
el caso de Guyana
is presented,
se presente,
defended,
defienda
and that the ICJ
en la Corte Internacional de Justicia.
will issue its decision
Dicha Corte va a
on the
hacer
merits of the
saber
case,
su decisión sobre los méritos,
which of course is binding on all the
que
parties.
por supuesto es vinculante para todas las partes.
I made it clear
Yo aclaré
that the process leading to the
que el
ICJ
proceso ante la CIJ
is part of the Geneva Agreement,
forma parte del Acuerdo de Ginebra.
and that the Geneva Agreement provides
El Acuerdo de Ginebra
for the UN
dispone
Secretary General to determine
para que el secretario general de las Naciones Unidas determine
where
dónde
the controversy
la controversia
must
debe
be finally determined.
ser dirimida.
And it is a UNSG
Y es el
acting within the confines of the Geneva Agreement
de la ONU que quien actuó dentro de los
Who determined?
quien determinó
that that place is the ICJ.
que ese lugar es la Corte Internacional de Justicia.
I want to say
Quisiera decir
that we
que nosotros
agreed with all the regional partners
acordamos con todos los socios
that the priority is peace
regionales de que la prioridad es la
and that every threat
y de que cada amenaza
of force or the use of force
de fuerza o
must be
uso de
denounced,
fuerza debe ser denunciado
and that every party
y que cada parte
must take responsibility.
debe asumir la responsabilidad.
We made it very clear
Eso lo aclaramos muy bien.
that Guyana is not the aggressor.
Que Guyana no es el agresor.
Guyana is not seeking war,
Guyana no busca la guerra,
but Guyana reserved the right to
pero,
work with all our partners to
pero,
ensure the defense of our country.
pero Guyana tiene, reserva el derecho de trabajar con todos sus socios para defender lo que es nuestro.
All our partnership is based
Toda nuestra sociedad se basa
on the defense
en la defensa
of our territorial integrity and our sovereignty.
de nuestra soberanía y la integridad territorial.
So as we move forward
De manera que en la medida
in the
que
next phase of the meeting,
progresamos a la próxima fase de la reunión,
and in keeping with the invitation,
y de acuerdo con la invitación,
which sought to enable a process of dialogue
que busco facilitar un proceso de diálogo
on consequential issues, not on the issue before.
All right, folks, we hope that you were able to capture all of that. We were trying to pull in the press conference that has started with Irfaan Ali and the Nicolas Maduro team there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But unfortunately, we can't do that. But as we signal to you folks, Nicolas Maduro seemed to have a different account of what transpired in those meetings, at least up until the first half of that meeting was concluded. He seemed to have a different account. And this is according to the Maduro's presidential palace press office, which put out a statement on X, what used to be Twitter. And in this statement, they said that Venezuela and Guyana, listen to this, according to Maduro, Venezuela and Guyana, I'll make sure you're getting it right. Venezuela and Guyana expressed their willingness to continue a dialogue to resolve the controversy in relation to the Essequibo territory. The press office from Maduro's presidential palace said this on X. Venezuela and Guyana expressed their willingness to continue with the dialogue to resolve the controversy in relation to the Essequibo territory. So apparently there were meetings running on parallel tracks there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Again, I want to read it a third time for you, because we were just as stunned when we read it. Venezuela and Guyana expressed their willingness to continue with the dialogue to resolve the controversy in relation to the Essequibo territory. Wow. That's all we'll say there, folks. Wow. We've gone a little over our time. The closer, folks. The closer. That's a snapshot of what took place during the course of the day in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The closer in Guyana, you know, we just got the announcement of a 6.5% increase in salaries for public servants. 6.5. Today in his press conference, the vice president said he doesn't know why so many folks are obsessed. Those were his words, obsessed with percentages. Why are you all obsessed with percentages, folks? Please and thank you. Take a look And take a listen to what the Vice President said. And those obsessed with percentages.
Somehow there is this feeling, there's an obsession about percentages every year. You hear one person say 70%, another 15%, another 5%, 3%. But any salary increase that is not grounded in an analysis of your economy, the state of your finances, and doesn't take account of the future revenue stream will be conjecture, and it will not be sustainable. We've seen this happen in many, many countries in the past. And what do I mean by all of this? So first of all, the government has an obligation. We have 54,000 public servants earning $87 billion wages bill. 54,000. The public servants are very important to managing a country. They work with the administration of many of our programs in Guyana. We have ensured that working conditions have improved. We have ensured that salaries have increased for our public servants. In some categories now, at the lower level in the public service, people are leaving the private sector to come and work because we have a minimum wage now in the public service that is higher than in many private sector agencies. They're coming to work with the public service now. In the past, it wasn't so. Almost everybody is going the other way. In the upper categories, we still have people exodus from the private sector for some skill types, like maybe the engineers and for accountants, ACCA, etc. But at the lower end, we are very competitive with the private sector, public sector wages. Now, but when you run a country, you have to take care of your public servants. They're your people who help you to administer the country. But you have a duty to all the people of the country too, who are not public servants, who work, who contribute to national wealth, who pay taxes. They also have to benefit from the treasury. And how do you get them to benefit? So you have to think about that too. You can't get them to benefit by paying higher wages because they're not working with you. So you also have to make sure that in a way, they pay less taxes.
Yep. Stop being obsessed with percentages. Stop it, please. Please stop it. Too obsessed with percentages. Here's some of that press conference. Before we go, folks, let's give you a minute or two of that press conference that has just concluded there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
There will be no questions. The declaration will speak for itself. There are copies of the declaration which are being printed at the moment for members of the media. As you are probably aware, at the head table with me, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the current chair of CARICOM, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, and we have our brother, the personal envoy of President Lula of the Federated Republic of Brazil, my dear friend Celso Amorim. The declaration, the Joint Declaration of Argyle for Dialogue and Peace between Guyana and Venezuela reads as follows. On Thursday, December the 14th, 2023, in Argyle, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, His Excellency Irfaan Ali, President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and His Excellency Nicolas Maduro, President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, held discussions on matters consequential to the territory in dispute between their two countries. These discussions were facilitated by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and pro tempore President of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC, Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonzalez, and the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica and Chairman of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. Prime Ministers Gonzalez and Skerrit, together with His Excellency Mr. Celso Amorim, Special Advisor and Personal Envoy of His Excellency Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, President of the Federated Republic of Brazil, acted as principal interlocutors. Also present were the Honorable Prime Ministers of the Caribbean Community, namely the Honorable Philip Davis, Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Honorable Mia Amor Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell, Prime Minister of Grenada, the Honorable Philip J. Pear, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, the Honorable Terence Drew of St. Kitts and Nevis, and Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Attending as observers on behalf of His Excellency Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, were Their Excellencies Earl Courtney Rattray, Chef de Cabinet of the Office of the Secretary General of the United Nations, and Miroslav Jenka, Under Secretary General of the United Nations Department of Political and Peacebuilding Affairs. In addition, His Excellency Alvaro Leyva Duran, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Colombia, and Mr. Gerardo Torres Zelaya, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Honduras in his capacity as CELAC Troika, also participated. All parties attending the meeting at Argyle, St. Vincent and the Grenadines reiterated their commitment to Latin America and the Caribbean remaining a zone of peace. Guyana and Venezuela declared as follows. 1. Agreed that Guyana and Venezuela directly or indirectly will not threaten or use force against one another in any circumstances, including those consequential to any existing controversies between the two states. 2. Agreed that any controversies between the two states will be resolved in accordance with international law, including the Geneva Agreement dated February 17, 1966. 3. Committed to the pursuance of good neighborliness, peaceful coexistence, and the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. 4. Noted Guyana's assertion that it is committed to the process and procedures of the International Court of Justice for the resolution of the border controversy. Noted Venezuela's assertion of its lack of consent and lack of recognition of the International Court of Justice and its jurisdiction in the border controversy. 5. Agreed to continue dialogue on any other pending matters of mutual importance to the two countries. 6. Agreed that both states will refrain, whether by words or deeds, from escalating any conflict or disagreement arising from any controversy between them. The two states will cooperate to avoid incidents on the ground conducive to tension between them. In the event of such an incident, the two states will immediately communicate with one another, the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, the Community of Latin American and the Caribbean, CELAC, and the President of Brazil to contain, reverse, and prevent its recurrence. 7. Agreed to establish immediately a joint commission of the foreign ministers and technical persons from the two states to address matters as mutually agreed. An update from this joint commission will be submitted to the presidents of Guyana and Venezuela within 3 months. 8. Both states agreed that Prime Minister Ralph E. Gonzalez, the pro tempore president of CELAC, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, the incumbent CARICOM chairman, and President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva of Brazil will remain seized of the matter as interlocutors, and the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres as observers, with the ongoing concurrence of Presidents Irfaan Ali and Nicolas Maduro. For the avoidance of doubt, Prime Minister Gonzalez's role will continue even after St. Vincent and the Grenadines ceases to be the pro tempore president of CELAC, within the framework of the CELAC Troika +1. And Prime Minister Skerritt's role will continue as a member of the CARICOM Bureau. 9. Both states agreed to meet again in Brazil within the next 3 months or at another agreed time to consider any matter with implications for the territory in dispute, including the above-mentioned update of the Joint Commission. 10. We express our appreciation to Prime Ministers Gonzalez and Skerritt, to President Lula and his personal envoy Celso Amorim, to all other CARICOM Prime Ministers present, to the officials of the CARICOM Secretariat, to the CELAC Troika, and to the head of the CELAC PTP Secretariat in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, His Excellency Dr. Douglas Slater, for their respective roles in making this meeting.
Yep, I think we have it there, folks. Back to regular programming. You know, I heard one of those points, I think it was 6, that says neither party will do anything to escalate. Folks, if Maduro didn't obey the ICJ, is Ralph and Skerritt and Mia you can be worried about? Is that Maduro going to be worried about? ICJ told Maduro do nothing to exacerbate, to escalate. He went in the did the referendum. He went in the appoint administrative district. You see building houses, folks. Back to regular programming. That's all, folks. We're going to unpack this statement in greater detail in another broadcast. That's going to do it for us today, Good folks. That's our time, and that's our program. Take care. And this is how you can, we're going to leave it there, folks. We're going to leave it there. Thanks for joining our broadcast this evening. That's the last bell, folks. That's our time, and that's our program. Stay safe.